Hey guys, how the hell are ya? Time for an all-new unbiased gear review on this, the Sully Conspiracy Series Stardust. But first of all, some specs on this instrument. We have a solid Alder body with a bolted-on 3-piece maple neck, Macassar Ebony fretboard with 22 stainless steel jumbo frets, locking tuners. We have a Hipshot bridge, master volume, master tone with a push-pull coil split, 3-way toggle switch, and Sully Spec Sweet Action bridge humbucker and Al Pastor neck humbucker. So this is a brand I've been wanting to get onto the channel for quite a while. I mean, they've been on the channel a little bit in terms of like some of the NAMM videos that I've done, but I've been wanting to get one of these instruments onto the channel in a controlled environment, in the home studio environment like we test everything else, so that you guys can see how it really stacks up to pretty much anything else that comes through the Toka. And this instrument is pretty exceptional. I know it seems like I'm getting a little ahead of myself and getting to the final conclusion already, but this is definitely one of those things where I've had experience with this brand before, and that is kind of leading me into this review video. Some might say, well, then it's not really all that unbiased, but at the same time, you know, hey John, if there was anything that I felt like calling out on this guitar, I'm gonna. Honestly, this instrument is really comfortable for starters. It does have a flatter top with some beveling along the arm cut here. Really comfortable. Feels kind of effortless to play from a picking hand standpoint. It just kind of rests in a really nice spot there. I do love the aesthetics of it. It's just something unique. It's different than the typical take on single cut instruments. Just everything just kind of flows nice and perfect here from the headstock down to the base of the body. It's just a beautiful, aesthetically pleasing instrument. All black on black on black, so you definitely have that sort of all metal look going on there. The neck profile is rather thin, but it's a nice comfy C shape, not unlike something that you would find on a Jackson or a Charvel. It definitely fits nice and comfortable in the hand. It definitely feels very familiar from the moment you pick it up as far as the neck goes. The neck joint is nice and comfy too. A little bit flatter along the edge than most other all-access neck joints that we sometimes get a hold of these days, but at the same time, just effortless to get in here and solo on the higher frets. The nut is cut expertly. It's very flush along the sides of the fretboard edge. Speaking of the fretboard edge, no sharp edges whatsoever to be found. This is an instrument that is made at World Music. It definitely does have that same sort of pedigree that you find on a lot of other instruments made there. Schecters, LTDs, Ormsbys, a lot of other instruments that are made at that same factory. So you can kind of expect that this thing should be at least somewhat decent, if not outstanding all around. And that does lend itself to, just generally speaking, there's a little bit more quality control on anything that leaves that factory regardless of brand, and this Sully is no exception. No sharp edges whatsoever. The edges of the frets themselves are a bit rounded off. They're not super like just immediately cut and then sanded down, but they're also not ball end rounded. They're kind of a nice happy spot in the middle. The fretboard edge is just barely rolled off a little bit to kind of match that a little bit, just give you a little bit more effortless playability. The tuning stability on this thing is pretty damn rock solid. I threw a nice new set of strings on this earlier today, gave them a little bit of stretch. Hey, no problems whatsoever, so definitely a good quality nut. Obviously a fantastic quality Hipshot bridge, so that's definitely lending itself to that as well. The Hipshot locking tuners also lending to that too, if nothing else making it just a little bit easier to do that string change that I did earlier. But man, everything is just kind of coming together to make this a stage-ready instrument. Nice, comfortable placement of the controls. The volume knob is a little away from the bridge pickup, but still close enough that those of us that do like to wrap our pinky around it in close proximity, it's gonna feel comfortable, it's gonna feel familiar. It's not far away like a Gibson, it's not uber tight like a Strat. It's just kind of a nice little halfway spot in the middle, like you would typically find on, there again, a Jackson or a Charvel. Despite the fact that this is kind of a single cut, it is a more modern single cut. There is definitely a lot of 80s shred characteristics that are kind of built into this instrument that we've gone over already. And it's just something that you'll kind of notice the more and more you play on this. Taking a look at the finish work is expertly done. This is a run one instrument, small disclaimer there. So at this point, yeah, we are starting to see a little bit of the gloss finish starting to settle into the seams of the wood a little bit, and that's fine. It's just something that naturally happens with instruments that have a gloss finish on it. If there's anything that I would definitely call out as far as this instrument goes, I would love, love, love to see this little string ferrule that's in the back to be recessed into the instrument. That is honestly probably the only playability, R&D, anything that I can find to call out about this instrument. Everything else is nice and compact and recessed into the body where it needs to be. Otherwise, just very aesthetically pleasing. Very, very well done. A lot of smart decisions have been made in the creation of this instrument. That is one thing that, man, I would just really like it if that was sunken into the body, just so that it, you know, doesn't catch on a belt buckle or something like that when you're playing on stage. That's really kind of the only call out that I can give. So how's this thing sound? Absolutely massive. The tone you're about to hear is this into an Aris Effects Savage Drive version 5. From there into a Mesa Boogie triple rectifier Rev G. Ooh, sounds so nice. Just so meaty, Literally everything about that Sweet Action humbucker, which is an Alnico 5 based pickup, by the way, and you can fucking tell, everything about that thing is just so massive sounding. You're getting a little bit of a scooped mid characteristic out of it, which is just accentuated further by the amp itself. But fuck, dude, like just massive palm mute tones, just enough treble to kind of help cut through. Throw on the coil split. A little bit spankier of a coil split tone than I'm used to hearing from a split humbucker. That is pretty gnarly in all the best ways, honestly. Throw on that neck pickup. Kind of sweet sounding. Admittedly, I wish it was just a teeny tiny little bit more vintage sounding. It kind of has that sort of kind of modern-ish tone to it. Just a little bit more articulation, just a little bit more brightness than I personally, personal taste here, personally like from a neck pickup. But honestly, not bad at all. Let's throw on the coil split. A little throatier, but not quite as much of a tonal difference on the high gain stuff as I would like from a coil split neck pickup too. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not bad at all. There's definitely going to be a lot of people out there that listen to that neck pickup and like, oh my god, it's perfect. Just for me personally, would like it if it was a touch more vintage sounding. But, you know, whatever. It's one little small fucking gripe. Everything else about this, as far as like the bridge pickup goes, man, I could honestly deal with one of these with just a single bridge pickup and make it a main guitar. I really could. And now for my final thought. Honestly, it is what it is. I kind of knew what it would be going into this, that this would be just a damn rock solid instrument. And I'm very, very happy that it wasn't something that changed that opinion. I feel like everything comes together really nicely on this to the point where, you know, I'll be honest. I bought this thing secondhand just for the sake of getting it on the channel, just so that I could make a video, have some new content to put forth for you guys. And then my plan was that I was going to get rid of it. Still might, but I'm giving a lot of thought to hanging on to this, especially with just how comfortable and how meaty that bridge pickup sounds. Jesus. It makes me want to tune this thing down to C-sharp standard, play some Melodeath or some brutal thrash riffs on it. It just calls out for that. Man, I can't get enough of that that bridge humbucker. That thing is so nice. Just beautiful Alnico 5 goodness coming out of that thing. But man, it is what it is. You know, for those of you guys that have been curious about Sully, for those of you that have been kind of watching on Instagram, watching on Facebook, have been interested in perhaps throwing down on one of the world music runs that he's known to do from time to time, I would say by all means, you know, throw down a little bit, get yourself a Sully Conspiracy series, because I mean, this is a run one. He's several runs into doing those imported instruments now. So if a run one is this awesome and is holding up this well after just a few years, then, I mean, I can only imagine that anything new that's coming out would be held up to that same standard. But Arnold, what are you drinking today? I am so glad that you asked. Let's go to the beer fridge. Let's find out. Today, from St. Arnold Brewing, I am having 2021's vintage of Pumpkinator. That's right, it has come back for this year. This is a very highly sought after brew. I was very, very fortunate to stumble across it. It's one of those things where I've had a lot of people hype it up to me recently, and I'm not going to lie, that's actually kind of worrying me a little bit, because normally when it's hyped up that much, it's one of those things where it doesn't usually live up to that kind of level of hype I've heard about it. Plus, when a lot of people are telling you that it's the best pumpkin beer they've ever had, but I've had Avery Rumpkin, that's a really tall order. All the same, let's dig into this. This is 2021 Pumpkinator. This is 11.2% alcohol by volume. This is just the regular Pumpkinator, nothing special about it as far as barrel aging or anything like that. We're just going to dig in. We're going to get the notes of what this beer without the bourbon barrels is all about. Ooh. Right from the moment that I open up the bottle, I get a lot of sort of candied notes, kind of sugary, a little bit of nutmeg and pumpkin spice coming out there. Getting ahead of myself here. Ooh, pours really, really dark. Minimal head. It's super dark, but it's not like total pitch black like a typical stout would be. Like, there's definitely a little teeny tiny bit of translucency to it. It's definitely kind of a rich brown more than anything else, not pitch black at all. So from the aroma, getting notes of molasses, getting notes of just a sort of richness already. Like, you can definitely tell that this is kind of a candy-like beer, so I'm looking very forward to digging into this. Oh, wow. Lot going on with that. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of that sort of pumpkin spice flavor that's in there, but it's really dark, kind of mellowed out by notes of a little bit of coffee. Not like a coffee stout, but just a little bit of that same sort of mouthfeel that coffee gives you. A little bit of char on there, especially on the back end. Little toasty, little roasty. Picking up a bit more nutmeg on the second swirl. Ooh. It's very rich. It's very complex. I was kind of expecting like a super sugary, sweet, candy-like beer, and that's not what we've got going on here. This tastes like a goddamn beer, but it just happens to taste like a goddamn beer that just has other stuff mixed in a little bit to kind of bring out some weird pumpkin-y kind of notes to it. I say weird, but it's really, it kind of blends really, really nicely. You know, a good mouthfeel, kind of easy going down, a little bit easier going down than 11.2% would typically lead you to believe. I think I kind of get why this thing is so hyped. I think that this is just one of those beers that you can tell that the brewery worked really hard to make it all come together kind of naturally. There's not a lot that's sticking out like a sore thumb when you drink this. It all just kind of melts together really nicely. Certain things are in there a little more subtly than others. Certain things are in there a little bit more poppin' than others. But overall, just really damn solid beer that just happens to have a little bit of pumpkin spice flavor to it. Okay, I think I get it now. And this is very, very, very delicious. So thank you guys so very much for tuning in. Please remember to like this video, subscribe to this channel. There's tons more metal and guitar oriented content to come. And please remember, take what you do seriously. Do not take yourselves too seriously.